Euzubillahimineşşeytanirracim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi şrah li sadri ve yessir li emri ve lisani yefqahu kavli. Selamünaleyküm ve rahmetullahi ve berekatuh. Inshallah, we will continue with the 11th aspect, I guess. Oh no, 12th. We will continue with the 12th aspect. So this is the final aspect. And just as a reminder, we are studying 10th word, and 10th word is about the hereafter, resurrection, and the author is trying to show us that even in this life, in the moment, the life that you live in, there are evidences, there are proofs of the hereafter. So hereafter and resurrection and Supreme Court, or the judgment, the big judgment, however you want to call it, the author says is not something like all out of sudden or a surprise for us. When Quran tells us that there will be hereafter, there will be resurrection, we say, yes, it makes sense, alhamdulillah. Like, I didn't know about it, it's something new for me, because it's a news of Gaib, but it's not contradictory to my daily life. So this is the claim, for instance, from an unbeliever perspective. When you talk about the hereafter, an unbeliever would say, where did you come up with such an idea? Or will tell you some anthropological stories, how people, invented such idea, as if it's not something inherent, internal to the life that we live, right? It is something external that you have to make it up, that you have to invent. But author, the way I understand it, at least, take it just from the opposite direction and says, no, the hereafter, judgment day, or resurrection, all these ideas, all these concepts perfectly fits to what we experience. If there was no hereafter, all these 12 aspects studied that, if there was no hereafter, then something big would be missing in our understanding of this life, he says. Or this is how I understand what he's saying. So before starting reading the 12th aspect, anyone wants to give us some, like a starting remarks, maybe some reminders or some points that didn't make sense in previous discussions? Any questions, any comments? No? Ali, anything from you? Imam Ali? Okay, then let's start with the 12th aspect. Ya Allah. Come, let us return now. We will speak with chiefs and officers of these various groups, and looking at their equipment, we'll inquire whether that equipment has been given them only for the sake of subsisting for a brief period in that realm, or whether it has been given for the sake of obtaining a long life of bliss in another realm. So this is an important comparison, like it's saying that let's look at what we have. He will look at these chiefs and officers, whatever they refer to. This is just a parable, right? We will look at the things in our hands and question whether we have them just for a brief period of time, just to have fun. What they say, you live only once. Yeah. Oh, there's a motto for it. Yo, yeah. Whether YOLO, that you have these things in your hand only for at most, what is it, the average age, 70 something, the average life expectancy. So let's say 80 years, 90 years, doesn't matter. It's just a blink of, just a blink. And this is one way of looking at it. And this is, I would say, the dominant way of looking at things, right? I have my youth only for a small period of time, so I have to enjoy it. I have this money for now, I have to enjoy it. It's just for a brief period of time. Or, author says, it is being given for the sake of obtaining a long life of bliss in another realm. So it's like a ticket given to you for a short period of time, so that with this ticket you can enter to the eternal life. So he says, okay, we will study this by looking at the things that we have here. Let us see. We cannot look at everyone and his equipment, but by way of example, let us look at the identity card and register of this officer. On his card, his rank, salary, duty, supplies, and instructions are recorded. See, this rank has not been awarded him for just a few days. It may be given for a prolonged period. It says on his card, you will receive so much salary on such and such a day from the treasury. But the date in question will not arrive for a long time to come, after this realm has been vacated. Similarly, the duty mentioned on his card has not been given for this temporary realm, but rather for the sake of earning a permanent felicity in the proximity of the king. Then too, the supplies awarded him cannot be merely for the sake of subsisting in this hospice of a few days' duration. They can only be for the sake of a long and happy life. The instructions make it quite clear that he is destined for a different place, that he is working for another realm. Now look at these registers. They contain instructions for the use and disposition of weapons and equipment. If there were no realm other than this, one exalted and eternal, that register with its categorical instructions and that identity card with its clear information would both be quite meaningless. Further, that respected officer, that noble commander, that honored chief would fall to a degree lower than that of all men. He would be more wretched, luckless, abased, afflicted, indigent, and weak than everyone. Apply the same principle to everything. Whatever you look upon bears witness that after this transient world, another and eternal world exists. So I will continue, but Yusuf, the paragraphs were very encrypted. Officers, registers, identity cards. Would you like to illuminate us a little bit about what he means, so that we can, continue with at least some slight understanding what he's talking about when he talks about the officers or identity cards? If you have any idea and you want to share, of course. I think he's talking about human in general, and also maybe certain
maybe more specific people we can think about, but we can also take human in general. And if we think about human, just analyzing human and saying that is human a fit for living a 60-year life and just decaying? Like, for example, if I do this for lion, if we just investigate lion.
Are you referring to me like as an analogy or just real animal life?
Or like the lion over there, it says. I'm just questioning. So when we investigate a lion, if I tell you that all lions are made to be nice and just smile everybody's face and welcome everybody to your house, you would say that with this cloud, like it looks like this animal is made, if you just look at it, to eat something. Like, look at the teeth, look at the cloud, look at the muscles. This is for running, chasing, and catching. This is a professional hunter. It's not a welcoming profile, right? So in a similar fashion, author is saying that let's investigate human, the capacity of the human. I guess the identity card is like the basic properties of human, basic tools of human. When you look at the human, what do you see there? He talks about the so we cannot look at everything he said, but salary, duties, supplies, and then there's this other aspect saying that you are going to receive that salary in such and such time, because human is not and never satisfied in here with the life that we live. So we are given this unsatiable desire for eternity, if you look at it like the claw of a lion. And then by looking at it, you would expect that this should be satiated, because stomach is given, food is given, questions are given, answers are given. Like desire for whatever is given, its answer is given. But this human is given this unsatiable desire for an eternal life, an eternal satisfaction. But it's like, it is written that you're going to take it at such and such time. If you just look at the nature of human, you will see that such a thing would come as a must come later on. But we don't see that in here. So I think this is in general how he is investigating and saying that he's talking about noble commander, under chief. If we take human as this, like when you look at it, animals, lion is finding its hunt here. Fish is finding its food here. So whatever it is made for, it is getting satisfied. But when it comes to human, look at the capacity of the human, the tools of the human, the desires of the human. Although it is relative to all the rest, the best among them, the most, let's say, equipped, yet it is the least satisfied. So if this eternal life is not to exist, then this most noble among the creation would be the lowest among the creation, is what I understand.
Any comments, questions so far? Anything from Ali?
So that's what they mean by when they say, when he says, look at these registers. If there were no realm other than this one, that register with its instructions and identity card would be meaningless. So that's what he means by, like, if a human, based on his ability, if he needs, there must be an afterlife just for him to be satisfied. Otherwise, it's impossible for him to be satisfied, and everything he does is meaningless.
Yes. Also, like, even when you look at the basic, the faculties, that the tools that we have. So, for instance, we have this capacity to learn, and it seems like really endless. Like, there's no moment that you say, okay, I learned enough, I cannot learn more. There's no such thing. Like, you learn and then learn and then learn and then learn, as if your brain doesn't have any capacity. And it does not. Like, I'm using the word brain only for sake of communication. But your capacity to learn doesn't have any end. So such an endless capacity, if it not there to be fed, then it becomes meaningless as well. Like you have endless, let's say, ways of tasting things, and only thing that you are given is just, I don't know, a piece of bread. Everything else you have, the capacity to taste, it's just wasted. Your tasting capacity is just meaningless then. Because if I'm supposed to eat only dry bread and that's all, if there's no other nima, there is no other, food available, and it would be, like a joke. You are giving all like a capacity to taste all these different things, and you have desire for it, and only thing that you are given is a piece of bread. Nothing hot, nothing salty, nothing sweet, nothing sour. And you have this desire for all these tastes as well. So then your capacity to taste would be meaningless. The same way, your learning, your seeing, your love. That there's no human being, like in Hollywood movies, yes, they find each other, I found my soulmate, and my heart is not full. There's no such thing. The love doesn't end. Need for love doesn't end. Yes, your beloved ones satisfy you for sure, but you still say, there's a huge gap in there to be filled. Your heart never filled, and never. There must be something else to fill it. So all your capacities, all your salaries or ranks tells you that there must be something beyond this realm. Anything else? Oh, friends, this temporary world is like a field. It is a place of instruction, a market. Without doubt, supreme tribunal and ultimate happiness will succeed. If you deny this, you will be obliged also to deny the identity cards of all the officers. So you have to deny yourself, your desires, your wishes, your capacity. And you say that, well, do you know what? No, I don't have any endless love. I don't have endless, the capacity to learn. I'm just an animal, like a lion. But you will be just lying to yourself.
It was like this example that they give. You can use this iPhone, and use it as a hammer. It's not going to function as good as a real hammer. It will kind of do the job. This is what it means for a human to live like an animal. Like an animal can truly enjoy an animal life. A human cannot. You can get some animal joys to a certain extent, as good as an iPhone can be used as a hammer to put some sort of a small nail to the wall. But then you're messing up iPhone for sure. But apart from that, you're not really functioning properly. Why human cannot live a life, animal-like life? Because we have worries, future worries, and we have regrets about the past. We have memory, we have intellect, unlike animals. This is why we cannot be animal either. This is why, the presence of your intellect, the presence of your memory, and despite your wish, they are there. Even if you get drunk, how long can you lose your intellect? Tomorrow you have to get sober so that you can go to work. Your intellect is still with you, torturing you now. How about, can you get rid of your memories that you want to forget? The more you want to forget, the more they haunt you. So as if we are, by default, not allowed to live an animal-like life. So this in itself is saying that it doesn't work. You are either going to be much better than animals, but then you have to act accordingly. There has to be an eternal life which will complete the picture. If not, you're going to be much, much lower than even the lowest animal. Because if it is animal joys, they do it much better than you can ever do.
To put the point in like simple terms, it's just that humans need and have higher purpose, right, than animals. And if they're not at least in pursuit of that purpose, then nothing else really matters. It's like I guess if your goal is like very high, then you won't be satisfied with, even though you can do the same thing. Like let's say everyone is at the same level, but your goal is up here and they've already reached their goal. If you're at the same level and you're at the same, you've achieved the same thing that everyone else had, it still doesn't matter because you wanted something higher. And I guess that's like just to put in simple terms.
One thing, so people would say, well, I want to live like an animal. So don't mention me afterlife because you're scaring me with afterlife and it's ruining my life. I just don't want to care about it and live a happy life. What the point here is, if you don't care about afterlife, the life you will live is going to be much lower than an animal life. You can never live an animal-like life because you're human. So if a person says, I don't want to think about these matters, don't torture me, not thinking about afterlife or saying that afterlife doesn't exist is the big torture, actually. Just the contrary to this common notion saying that, oh, just the fear of afterlife is ruining all the joy that I can get, like go and drink and do this and that. This is the fun life that they're having out there. We here look at how sad all of us just trying to discuss some religious things and whatnot. I think what he's saying is that this is your reality. The opposite is problem.
And like when we say living like an animal, when we put it that way, it sounds like an insult and as if nobody would accept such thing. But when we look at the education that we get, they tell us that we are animals. I was attending a psychology course, and the professor was telling, she was talking about the fear, the human fear. And the way she explained was, the usual in the evolutionary terms, like when you fear, you have to lose some weight. So usually animals urinate or, this kind of stuff, and you have to run. And she was talking about all that. She's talking about the fear, and everything she was talking about was about the animal kingdom. And since we are also a type of animal, the human fear is the same way. Like it's just a mechanism to survive. Okay? And it regulates some physiological mechanisms inside. And that's the fear. And the way I felt with this definition is like, no, but my fear is much more than that. My fear is like a journey. It takes me from one place to another place in my mind. It causes me to surrender, to seek refuge, to seek something bigger than me or more than me. And I'm not only talking about the physical, the bigness. When I was a child, for instance, I would cry for, when you are afraid, you would cry for your mom, right? Exactly. You cry for what? When you're afraid? Okay. Your mom. And it tells a lot about the humanity, right? Then the fear is not for survival. It's making connection as well. It's making you closer to your mom. This is your fear, such a valuable emotion. But now you are 18, 19?
Yeah.
19, You cannot cry for mom, right? Now your fear, the same fear acting as a link with you and your Rabb, whoever your Rabb is. If your Rabb is the, I don't know, the security of your apartment, then you look for them. If you are living in a fancy, you know, the community and there are security in the entrance, this is your Rabb, maybe, I don't know. But it makes a link between you and your Rabb, your fear. Such a, you know, big emotion. So when you describe it in terms of the animal fear, as we observe, their fear might be more than, you know, what we observe, I don't know. But if you reduce it to what we observe in the animals, then you are suggesting me to live like an animal. So it's not that insult I'm making to you, it's something that you are suggesting. I cannot live. My fear tells me much more than what you're describing. What you're describing is nothing, right? It's like you have a fancy suit, like old ties and everything, and the person describing you is telling you, talking about some threads, like one tiny thread in your jacket. That's the difference between my fear and what you are talking about. Beware, do not imagine that the proofs of the transfer of creation from one realm to another are restricted to these 12. Oh, I didn't finish the paragraph, sorry. You will be obliged also to deny the identity cards of all the officers, their equipment, and their orders. In fact, you will have to deny too all the order existing in the country, the existence of a government in it, and all the measures that the government takes. These orders, government, and so on were discussed in previous aspects. They're all, again, the parables. Then you will no longer deserve the name of man or name of human or the appellation of conscious. So we say that we are human, we have this consciousness. Then if you deny all your endless, limitless, infinite the desires, faculties, capacities, then you don't deserve to be a human. You don't deserve to have consciousness. You will be more of a fool than the sophist. So it stops here, I guess, and he talks about, you know, the 12 proofs in general, right? Yeah, wrap it up. So let's stop here for a few seconds so that first I can breathe. Second, the people can share their comments, questions, disagreements.
The word Appalachian is an interesting thing. I think it you know, there's a mountain range called Appalachian Mountain, so maybe this means, you know, the highest elevation of consciousness, like the mountain range. That's not true.
Shall I continue then with the text? If Ali doesn't have anything to say. Beware, do not imagine that the proofs of the transfer of creation from one realm to another are restricted to these 12. So this is also an interesting sentence. I don't know the Turkish version, but like a transfer of creation from one realm to another. Do you remember what he uses for that? Okay, tabdil, it's like change, right? It's not like, you know, things will be from our perspective at least, will end and then it will start from scratch, but it's rather as if it's a continuation of things in a different form.
Okay.
So the hereafter is the continuation of here.
Right.
Probably like that's the reason, right? We say what you will get in hereafter, heaven, hell, whatever, you are in. May Allah protect all of us from the hellfire. That is what you gained in this life. I will show one proof in particular that is stronger than all the 12 aspects taken together. Come now, look in the midst of the great assembly, visible in the distance, the same noble commander. He's talking about the prophet, I guess, whom we previously saw on the island, adorned with numerous decorations, is making an announcement. Let us go and listen. See that luminous and most noble commander is conveying a supreme edict, beautifully inscribed. He says, prepare yourselves. You will go to another and permanent realm. A realm such that this one will appear as a dungeon by comparison. You will go to the seat of rule of our king, and there receive his compassion and his bounty. If you heed this edict well and obey it, but if you rebel and disobey it, you will be cast into awesome dungeons. Such is the message that he conveys. If you look at the degree, you will see that it bears such a miraculous seal that it cannot in any way be imitated. Everyone, apart from idiots such as yourself, knows of certainty that the degree is from the king. Since I'm the one who's reading, like I'm the one telling, right? I'm not the you here. Everyone apart from idiots such as yourself knows of a certainty that the degree is from the king. And with degree, I guess he's referring to Quran, the message. Moreover, the noble commander bears such bright decorations that everyone except those blind, like yourself, understands full well that he is the gracious conveyor of the king's orders. Is it at all possible that the teaching of transfer from one realm to another, challengingly conveyed by that noble commander in the supreme edict he has received, should at all be open to objection? No, it is not possible unless we deny all that we have seen. Okay, let's stop here again and then ask how the prophet and the message that he brings is a stronger proof than what we see here about hereafter. Anyone else? Go ahead.
I think a simple,
Oh,
a very basic and simple analogy that comes to my mind is that, like, when you're born, starting when you're born, like at every stage that you're kind of assessed on some level. Maybe when you're a child, your parents will tell you, oh, you're being a good kid or a bad kid. You go to school, your teachers will tell you you're a good student or a bad student, and then you go to work, you're a good worker, you're a bad worker, right? This sort of thing. And like, I think there's a sort of pattern. And, you know, like, what about your life? You know, is there any such thing? Are you living is there any sort of guidelines to tell you if you're living a good life or a bad life? Are you really free to do whatever, live however you wish? I mean, what is that even about? So I think for me, that is the evidence for why I would even be expecting to listen to this commander. You know, why would that, you know, resonate with me, his words about another realm? I mean, that's my reason.
Also putting this in at the end is an interesting choice, because like today I was asking to some student about God and whatever. I said, "Who is God?" So he said, "We believe in God." Okay, whatever. And I said, "What is Quran?" So I said, "How do you know God?" He said, "Well, he explains us himself in Quran." So I said, "Isn't this a cyclical reasoning? Because you said God, who is God, speaks in Quran. Quran is speech of God. So it is as if I come and say that, oh, my name is Jason. And you say, how do you know? Well, then I start telling about myself to you. And you say, well, his name is Jason because he said so. So is it becoming any sort of a proof, like the cyclical? So there's this general notion of taking speech of creator as an evidence before justifying it, before putting a basis for it. Like, it has a super important role, but without having a solid foundation, just taking it on the surface value is going to be not really going to serve as a evidence or a proof or anything solid that's going to satisfy you. So this is why author benefits from it. He opened the discussion with even a verse, but he has been reading those verses from within the creation. He was showing the signs from creation, as the verse was inviting us to do. Look at the signs of our mercy. So at the end, he said that, oh yes, Quran, that speech from which we have been benefiting so far, to read it from the creation or confirm it from the creation, which we have the first-hand experience with, also talks in detail about resurrection. If I were to say, without taking this, let's say, why do you believe in resurrection? Oh, because Quran says so. Why does Quran know it's a speech of God? So how do you know God speaks? Oh, because I have seen Quran, because God. Like this chain of, it's all hanging up in the sky. It's not really giving me a solid handle to hold and say that, oh, now I know. This is a portion that I know, and I can build everything on top of that. There's no such handle. It's always starting from somewhat of an imaginary creator, speech of that imaginary creator, and then imaginary resurrection and everything. It's all hanging up in the sky. And I am then saying that, oh, I believe in this. But author left it to the end. It is a solid, very solid argument to make, but after establishing the basis. If you don't put this basis, if he was to state the same thing at the beginning, although word-wise it would be the same thing, but it wouldn't mean the same.
The way I see it was also like, if you look into the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam, before he received revelation, when he looked at the moon and he said, this must be God, then he said no, then with the sun, this must be God. Then he kind of determined that, like, based on all these evidences, that there must be like another God, and then he received the revelation. And same with Rasulullah before he received revelation. He was also like at Ghar Hira, like meditating, and he was contemplating these things. And he also kind of like, saw the evidence of that there must be something else, and he wasn't satisfied with what there was at the time, which were the idols and whatnot. So the way I see it is that all these things, they are the evidence, like as you said, like the basis for your belief, and I think even Muslims, you have to find Islam for yourself, right? Based on these things. Because right now, as you said, most people, they say, why do you believe in Islam? Oh, because, you know, it says in the Quran. And then why do you believe in the Quran? Because my parents taught me.
If it was, you know, that way, it would be even better. Like it would be, let's say, better than the reality. The reality is that why you are Muslim, because I'm Turkish, or because I'm Pakistani and my father is Muslim.
Fair. But you know, for example, why are we always say like why are converts like such good Muslims? Because they have to find Islam for themselves, right? But the thing is, even Muslims, just you were born into it, but you still have to find it for yourself, in at least to some degree. So the way I see it is like after you assess all these evidences, then the fact that there's a prophet who came with a book and who made like that was like a rubber stamp on the whole thing to confirm everything for you. So and that's just my 2 cents on it.
Maybe it also, so with the evidence that you get from the creation, it only points you through towards a direction. It says, you know, there must be something. It can't be this way or that way. There must be something beyond that. But this something is unknown to you still within this creation, because as a human being, I tend to find the answer within the creation, right? If I, let's say, find a lock, I'm trying to find a key to open it. But within this creation that I'm trying to find it. With this kind of contemplation, I conclude that there must be something beyond this creation. And there I'm speechless now. I cannot define it. I cannot describe it. There must be something. That's the only thing that I conclude. This, I guess, the same goes with the hereafter as well. Like, just because we know we have a concept of hereafter from Quran already, we probably assume that, you know, when we study the proofs in the creation, that this Quranic understanding of the hereafter comes automatically. But personally, I don't think so. Like with the hereafter, when we look at the creation, all we say that there must be a one way of having a complete justice. There must be something to feed my endless desires. And I'm not talking about in a hedonistic way, like feeding desires. It's like more like satisfying my humanity. There must be something this way. There must be something that way, but I don't know what it is. And then Quran comes, not only confirms that what I conclude, what I expect, but also it opens up, it elaborates, make things clear. Say that, Birkan, yes, there is an hereafter, and it looks like this. And it looks like that. And you say, oh, this is even better than, you know, I'm expecting. Better in the sense that it's a better explanation, more satisfactory, yes. Much more satisfactory explanation. Because when we look at the different ideologies, different cultures, different lives, we see that there are different ways of dealing with hereafter. So one way or another, everybody goes beyond what is in front of them. Some of them say, yeah, there must be a constant renewal of the matter. And your body will be part of new generations, right? This is your hereafter. Some other would say, no, your soul will be recircled. Some other would say, no, you would be, what is the word, like reborning? Reincarnation, yes. So there are different, you know, ways to deal with it. The conclusion, like, let's say, the beginning point, it's kind of same. It all starts from there must be something beyond the grave. But none of them fits to the experiences that we have. Like when I say there must be something beyond the grave, I don't mean something like reincarnation. because it doesn't fit to my experiences, my humanity, or becoming a knee of a newborn person doesn't satisfy my even the matter aspect. But when Quran comes and explains, when the Prophet ﷺ delivers this message and explains it and leaves it, I say, yes, this is what I'm looking for. Hence, I guess it is a better proof than even my individual experiences, because it goes beyond what I expect. It opens up it. It perfectly fits to my experience, yes, but then go further. Tells me news from the guide, unseen.
And it's very beautiful the way it translates. Let's say, for example, if I was speaking, I would say, well, don't you believe me? Are you questioning my authority? Although Quran is coming, like, I am so much in need of those answers. He is coming with something that I am so much in need of, and still not trying to put authority over me and saying that here's the truth. Try it for yourself. You will see that it's true. It's not saying that, oh, like as if in the time of a crisis, everybody is in need of buying a certain bread, let's say, and I have tons of bread. So I will turn it into an opportunity and will try to impose things on you. Quran's approach is not like, oh, you have to trust in me, forget about everything. What I say would be correct. He says, you were needy, here are the answers for you, but try and see if it matches your reality. Then you will know that it's true. So much of a merciful speech in this sense, so much of a humane way of approaching human. It's fitting human reality so much. Maybe we are making it inhuman and saying that, oh, since Quran says so, it must be so. Don't question whether you're going to lose your faith. It's haram. Look at the signs, is Quran's approach. And that's why the author applied it, like the guidance he was introducing to us, without putting every verse up in there to, especially since he's speaking to people of our age, where we are so much alien to religion and scripture and whatnot. He says, look at the signs. So why am I making this explanation? So I'm starting from the reverse. Where does philosophizing differ from speaking in the light of revelation? This is what the distinction I'm trying to make. If I was just trying to look at the tree and say that, oh, how does this point to the revelation or resurrection or God? I'm trying to solve the problem by myself. Actually, if I have never seen revelation, this effort would tell me that there must be an answer, but I am not able to. And if I am honest to myself, this must end up in Mount Hira. Prophet trying to make sense of existence, not being able to make sense of it, and saying that still there must be a meaning. That much asking makes you a recipient of revelation. You are now ready to hear for the message. But still, when your creator talks to you, he says, read. But read, I'm going to teach you how to read. I know your issue is with reading. Read in the name of your Lord. Then the instruction starts coming, but still points you back to the book of creation. Read in the name of your Lord, how he created. Still points to the creation. So this Quran's way of saying that what I'm going to teach you is confirmable in existence. I'm going to make you learn how to read existence. But your teacher is, in this case, is not your ego, it is your creator. But still, you're thinking, still you're questioning, you're investigating the creation. So in this sense, the philosopher will be doing the same thing, or at least using the same medium, but the approach is totally different. So this is why, like, traditionally, and tradition by I mean last centuries, we become so much alien to thinking, so much we equated thinking with philosophizing, and philosophy is against religion, so this is bad. And so this approach is totally different. What is being introduced in here is not saying that, oh, the author left revelation to the end, we came to the 12th level, by philosophizing or intellectualizing, and then we are ready to read Quran. This is not the case. So just to clarify that point, because I feel like this is a potential misconception that can happen, but this is not what author was doing, because this is not what Quran is doing. Quran is never saying that here is what I say, accept it as it is. Quran will tell you that here is what you should be reading, but read it like this. And then he's going to show me the creation of human. And that's what the author did. Resurrection, these are the signs of resurrection, as the first verse was indicating. Look at the signs of mercy. There you will realize the evidences, proofs of resurrection to make you convinced and satisfied. So this is how the approach is, to read creation under the guidance of Quran and the Messenger. But still, we are reading the book of creation. Quran is reading us or interpreting us the book of creation.
And when we look at these 12 aspects in detail, we will see that the author is actually benefiting from Quranic verses. So it's not like, you're reading the existence by yourself, coming to a conclusion by yourself, and then Quran is confirming it. It's rather, when you look at the creation, you don't know even how to start, where to start. Without the prophetic message of La ilaha illallah, there's no God but Allah. And this is a methodology. It means look at the creation, identify all these possible gods, ilah, right, the false gods, and show yourself that they cannot be real. Eliminate all of them, and what you will end up with Allah. So this is the methodology. And how we know it? From Quran, from Prophet. We start looking at the creation with this approach, with this methodology, and then come up with certain conclusions. So the methods also taught us by Quran, by Prophet. You read some verses in Quran, it points to something in the creation, and say that, okay, let me study this part of the creation, and let's see whether I can confirm it or not, whether it fits to my humanity or not. Yeah, like, it's not that you're born in darkness, you don't have revelation, and you have to invent things yourself and come up with some conclusions, and then revelation will confirm it. Practically speaking, it doesn't work like that. Any comments? I guess we have 2 more paragraphs, tiny ones. I will read them too, and then we'll not start the new section. Okay, let's read. Now, O friend, it is your turn to speak. Say what you have to say. The friend is the one who objected the hereafter at the beginning. What should I say? What can be said to contradict all of this? Who can speak against the sun at midday? I say only, praise be to God. 100,000 thanks that I have been saved from the dominance of fancy and vain imagination, and delivered from an eternal dungeon and prison. I have come to believe that there is an abode of felicity in the proximity of the monarch, separate from this confused and impermanent hospice. Our comparison indicating the truth of resurrection and the hereafter is now complete. Now, with God's grace, we will pass on to the most exalted truth. We shall set forth 12 interrelated truths. So 12 aspects we studied, now their counterparts, the truths, like our life. These 12 aspects was the parables, the stories. And then from these stories, the author will make some interpretations about our lives. We will pass on to the most exalted truth. We shall set forth 12 interrelated truths corresponding to the 12 aspects discussed above, as well as an introduction. So, if you have any other points, comments, let's continue from there. Otherwise, I will ask a question. So let me wait for a few seconds for brave souls who want to share their objections. Nothing? I think having this discomfort, probably he is reluctant to share. No?
Sister Zareen was silent, maybe she's just hiding the question.
Because it's her first time, so I'm not, putting her. Oh, yeah, I was not there. That's true. Then I can, put you on the spot. Oh, please go ahead.
Oh, so far, yeah, I thought this approach was like very interesting in terms of thinking about the signs of resurrection in like our everyday lives and the mercies that we. It's something that I haven't really thought about. But like from the first session I came to last week and from this session, I think the approach this author takes is very interesting and something that I haven't like thought about before. So I guess I don't really have any questions yet per se, because still thinking about the topic, but like something that resonated with me was what Atik was saying earlier about how sort of in life we're passing through different realms, I guess, like the realm of being an infant to the realm of being a young child to teenager adults. So I guess the sort of the passage of time itself seems to be like an evidence for resurrection to me, which is something I didn't really think about, but yeah. And the fact that we're able to sort of look back on like different historical events and different examples, like the example of the prophet like himself, and have that pass through time, I feel also speaks to the idea of resurrection and going to a different realm after this time.
So this is a very good point. Like we are used to. There's not the, when we talk about the hereafter or resurrection, it's not the first time that we have this idea of resurrection in our lives. Like we do experience a type of, let's say, it's not the same thing, but it's just the indication of what is mentioned in the Quran, the resurrection. Like from one realm, as you said beautifully, from one realm to another realm, we always, transfer, right? From my childhood to adulthood and so on. Or even when you are inside your mom, the way you live is completely different than the way you live the outside of your mom. So there is this tremendous change between the two. So if you speak to one inside the mom and say that there's something beyond this life, it's another type of life where you will breathe, right? Instead of getting the oxygen through your bloodstream and so on. If it was like he was a conscious being, I would say, "Are you kidding me? This is it. This is my life." So the idea of resurrection or changing realm is not something too external.
Actually, you could have brought the idea saying that to the baby as an argument. What are you going to do with these lungs? Like they are there, non-functional.
That's a great example, yes.
So there must exist a realm in which those lungs are going to become functional. So there must exist an afterlife. The author was making a similar argument, saying that you have this desire for eternity and it's not being satisfied in here. There must be an afterlife where this is going to get satiated. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense. Everywhere else in your body is so much, or in your existence is so much in order and in harmony. But this thing, which seems to be occupying a good portion of space in your existence, is either non-functional or harming you, which doesn't make any sense. It would make sense only if there would exist another follow-up. So same thing would apply.
So we usually don't think that way, the way you describe that, because what you're saying is we are being prepared for something in this life, right? This is what you are saying. And we are not accustomed to hear, speak that way, because the way we describe our lives is like from childhood to the youth, there's a increase, and then from youth to grave, there's a decrease. You're getting older and older, and getting older is usually associated with losing something. So when we look at it that way, it's like, you gain things and then you lose things. And at the end, you don't have anything in your hands. So you're not prepared for something. But from a chronic perspective, you are being educated and then educated and then educated. With your old ages, you are educated. With older ages, you are educated in different ways. Until the grave, you are being educated. And if this is the case, there must be a place to receive your diploma, right? So where is this? But you ask this question only when you realize that you are being educated constantly. And I guess the first act of kafir is covering this fact that I am being educated, I'm being trained. But rather we say, no, we're just trying to survive.
And even sometimes, when we take religion on the surface, still I say I believe in afterlife, and I am just gaining score in here so that I'm going to be given a better palace in the paradise, right? Like I record more score here. So as if there is a discontinuity or unrelatedness between what I observe, what I do here, and how the afterlife is. But if I take it as education and training, as you would do, for example, well, I do study programming in undergrad. After I graduate, I'm going to do programming much better, much wider, whatever. But what I learn in here, what I will practice there are related. My education here versus what I would see in an eternal life would be relatable. This makes, this organic type of relationship makes things much different. And it will make my understanding of resurrection more relatable. Because otherwise, if I take the two to be totally separate and like unrelated, I live a life here, so I should make my creator happy, and then he's going to just as if
See me in completely different ways.
Yeah, this makes it so detached, like that sort of a afterlife is so detached from it becomes so unrelatable, so detached. And this is why today we were talking with someone. He was saying that, well, why shall I care about religion? He was saying. So he said for the last year, he had questions. Still, he does his 5-time prayer. But what should keep him worrying about religion? Because in our understanding, religion is this do's and don'ts on one hand, because this is how we were raised. And then I need to put check marks to certain things so that I make God happy, so that he doesn't send a thunder to my head. And then these are the things that I'm supposed to believe in. Because the conversation we were having is, yes, since today with someone was saying that, yes, this Quran says so, I believe in like this. But if you are talking about my conviction, it is like this, was the word that that brother was talking. And apparently he put a lot of thought onto that. It was not like this guy is just throwing up stuff. At the end, he said, why shall I be caring about religion? So if I see the two detached, if my understanding of resurrection has nothing to do with my life over here, then religion itself becomes irrelevant. It just becomes like as a burden. And since the society I live in is already against religion, so it's totally a burden. Why shall I carry that? So this is why taking it as it is connected to my reality here and now makes a much rich understanding of afterlife, also this life.
Any final comments? Bushra, anything? Okay, she says no. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحة.